Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this first episode of this year's Masterclass series. So, hope you're all having a great day. And today, just like every masterclass that we do, we have themes on each episode. And today, we'll take a look at incident management. I'm Zafan. I'll be taking you through this session, and we'll see how you could maximize the service uptime in your organization with efficient incident management workflows using ServiceDesk Plus. All right. Now, before we head into this session, a few housekeeping items that I'd like to reiterate. So all attendee lines are muted by default. If you'd like to raise a question, there is a separate Q&A panel on the left. There's also a separate chat section where you could chat with other attendees, or if you find the audio to be faulty, or if you find the screen sharing to be faulty, you could raise it over there. And apart from that, we'll also have a separate Q&A at the end of this session so that we'll answer all your questions live. A recording of this masterclass will be sent to every registrant, so you need not worry if you want to rewatch this again, if you want to share it with your teams as well. And of course, for any feedback or any changes or any requests that you have, do drop a mail to my ID. It's on the screen, zephaniah.b@zohocorp.com, or shoot an email to hello@servicedeskplus.com, and we'll be happy to sort it out for you. All right, now let's see what's in store for us today. So this is going to be the agenda. So first, we'll see how you could set up an omni-channel experience with ServiceDesk Plus, so ensuring that your end users are accessible to the IT service desk across many channels of your organization. Then how you could gather the accurate and the relevant information needed for faster incident remediation or resolution. Then we'll take a look at how you could, avoid the repetitive task, overcome or sidestep the repetitive tasks that you do so that your technicians can do higher value tasks, so that with a smaller team, you can do much larger work. Then we'll see how you could enforce a standardized process to tackle your major incidents in your organization, how you could build visual workflows or playbooks to manage incidents. We'll then see how you could resolve the basic tickets, the L1 tickets, fast. And then finally, to wrap it all up, we'll see how you could manage the performance metrics and how you could visually see what is happening in a bird's eye view of your service desk operations. All right. Now, just to get a feeler of the audience today, I want to have a poll right now. So I'll initiate the poll now. The question is, do you have a major incident management playbook in your organization? So we have 4 options. We'll keep it open for about 30 seconds. Just want to know how the audience who are right now attending this, have you implemented it in your organization already? Or do you have plans of implementing it, or you just had the blueprint, haven't implemented it yet? Or is it a blanket no, there is no proper playbook to manage your major incidents? So I'll keep the poll open now. Do participate in it. All right, folks. Great. So I can see that most of you do not have a proper incident management playbook. Well, it's great. So it's time we actually define that, create that, and then enforce it with your ITSM platform, with ServiceDesk Plus, right? So we'll see how you could actually enforce it today in the session. All right, cool. So first up, let me set the context. So today we are going to learn lessons from Zilker. So Zilker is a fictional health insurance firm who's going to teach us how to handle incidents better based on their challenges that they faced. So they have operations across 4 continents and have about 1,000 employees working under them. However, their IT department still uses a legacy ticketing system that is is not that efficient doesn't have much capabilities. It does not support any of the new digital initiatives that they're trying to set up, or it does not help them innovate their way out of problems. So what are the challenges they face due to this? Number one, they do not have a single system of record for all their incidents. It's a pretty basic thing, right? So incidents come through various channels for them, and it's not recorded in one single view. Then next up, they are not able to gather the accurate information. So this leads to delayed time during incident remediation. They're not able to gather all the relevant information right when the incident is recorded. Then they have they waste time in managing the repetitive tasks, the mundane tasks that technicians get bored of doing, right? Then one key thing that they faced was several critical incidents slipped through the cracks, which led to further major outages. And finally, due to the current sphere, they were facing facing an IT talent shortage. So they had several L1 tickets piling up on one side of the desk. So how do they overcome these business and technology challenges? So let's see how ServiceDesk Plus helped them. So first up, they needed to set up an omni-channel incident reporting system. So for that, Zilker was able to use these capabilities of ServiceDesk Plus. We'll take a look at all these right now. Now, I'll be going over to the ServiceDesk Plus user interface right now. This is the ServiceDesk Plus user interface. We are right now in the dashboards, the visually appealing dashboards. And I'll show you how and where you can configure the first accessibility option, the most basic one, which is the email settings. So under the admin section, you have a separate category for mail server settings. If you head over to the incoming section, you can configure the connection protocol, the authentication type, and choose which email address would a user be sending an email to. And then you could fetch a sample mail over here. Once you click fetch a sample mail, ServiceDesk Plus would fetch the oldest mail in your inbox and then create it as a ticket. So that then you would know that the connection is solid. All right. Now that's incoming. Similarly, you can configure outgoing under the outgoing tab. You can choose the connection protocol to be SMTP or SMTPS, or you can choose Exchange web services as well. You can choose the reply to address and the port and the whether you have TLS enabled. And similar to incoming, you can also type in an email address and send a sample mail to check if the connectivity is strong. All right. Now with email done, we have a very key accessibility option. Currently, all business teams in the world in the hybrid era are using collaboration platforms like Microsoft Teams or Slack and so on. So with the end users working right in Teams or Slack, it'd be great if IT Service Desk is present right within Teams so that it's accessible, right? You can provide or deliver services right where the work takes place. So and that is why you can natively integrate ServiceDesk Plus with Microsoft Teams. So to do that, head over back to the admin section. Under apps and add-ons, you have a separate section for integration. Click third-party integration and you would have an option to configure the Microsoft Teams integration. When you click on settings, you would be asked for the authentication token and the relevant configurations. And once you key in that, you would be set up for Microsoft Teams. So how does that look? So this is the Teams interface, right? Now, once you download and install the ServiceDesk Plus application, you would be able to just chat commands and then create tickets or get information from the service desk. This is applicable for both technicians and requesters. For instance, if I just type in the overview command, it would just bring in the necessary information such as the tickets or any pending approvals that I have, any open requests right from the service desk. And it's not just that. Technicians can directly manage and even resolve the tickets right from Teams. So if you click on the request tab, the entire request module is accessible to technicians within Teams. So they could just chat with the end users and directly manage tickets without ever shifting between multiple windows. So they could access all the tickets, they could manage them, they could assign them, take actions, and then entirely resolve them as well. And that is how Teams gives you takes you one step further to that omni-channel experience. Next up, it's Zilker was leveraging the ServiceDesk Plus's AI-powered virtual agent. Now, Zia is ServiceDesk Plus AI-powered virtual agent, and it's available in the self-service portal or in any of the intranet sites that you have. So right now we're taking a look. We're having a look at an end user's self-service portal. This is where end users can access, create new tickets, access their service catalog or the incident catalog, access the knowledge base, have direct access to their assets, any announcements from the IT team or any approvals that they have. It's a completely customizable self-service portal based that can be designed using HTML. Now, on the bottom right corner, you have Zia, which is the AI powered virtual agent, right? So it can help both technicians and requesters in either creating a ticket or fetching information from the service desk. So you can just naturally talk to Zia, such as, hi Zia, and it would check, how can I help you? You can either raise a ticket, ask for a resource which would fetch any information from the knowledge base, or you can choose need more assistance. Now, this is another way that Zilker was able to, another channel that Zilker set up so that end users found it easier to access the service desk. All right. Now, the next thing that they had was live chat, directly managing, directly connecting you to the technician, connecting an end user to the technician. So for that, an end user just need to click need technician assistance. And once they click it, it would check which technician is online, and then it would create a new chat window, and you can initiate the chat with such technician. The technician on the other end can just take the chat transcripts and then create a ticket from there. So now you have your end users can directly chat through any of the online technicians and easily pick up, create new requests apart from Zia too. So you can turn Zia and live chat on again in the admin section. I'm back on the admin section, and you have a separate section for Zia on the left-hand panel. If you can follow my cursor, you have Zia bot. And if you just turn on this toggle switch, you have all these actions listed over here and the command with which you could invoke various actions in Zia. Similarly, under apps and add-ons, you have chat settings, which can be enabled with this toggle switch, and choose which the various settings that you need, such as whether the chat should be enabled for both requesters and technicians, which sites should be excluded, and all those information can be configured over here. All right. Now, the final and one of the key channels is the self-service portal itself, right? Now, with the self-service portal, you can create multiple widgets. So right now, let's create a ticket from the self-service portal. So we're going to report an issue, right? So once I click report an issue, we are redirected to the incident catalog. Now, this incident catalog is completely customizable. You could create based on your organization preferences. So let's assume that Zilker, a health insurance firm, which means it has extensive amounts of files and health records that their employees need to access frequently, right? And several of the employees are not able to access the files. So it's a business impacting issue. So right now, let's create a ticket for that. So under under application login category, we have a separate ticket template for such as unable to access files. So over here we have a basic form that where it's asking the impact. You can choose the impact to be critical, and then once you choose critical, urgency field pops up. You can choose high, and then the priority field pops up, which is pre-populated based on the impact and urgency, and it shows up that it's critical. So right now the subject is also pre-populated. We can just add a quick description. I haven't been able to access any files for the last 15 minutes. All right. So once you click add request, you would be Zia would just pop up and show any suggestions, such as any solutions that be relevant for this. You can choose to view suggestions and see if it's relevant for the situation. But for now, let's just submit our request. All right. So now we saw the various methods, various accessibility options that Zilker has created, right? The next up is gathering accurate ticket information. Now, for Zilker, they leveraged to get the right information to accelerate the incident remediation process. They leveraged templates field and form rules, and customization. Now let's take a look at templates. Now I'm heading back to the ServiceDesk Plus UI, and I'm heading back to our home section, and we are right now in the request list view. Now this would be a very familiar screen for all of you, right? Now we've just created a ticket, right? The one that we created right now from the self-service portal, that is the last ticket that we have. So once we open it, we are again in a very familiar territory where this is the ticket workspace. You have details over here. The resolution can be added here. The task checklists are added directly. The work logs can be added by the technicians. And all the other properties, the ticket basic properties, are on the right panel, including the asset details. And you could have options to associate problems, change, and projects as well. And if you scroll further down, the complete properties of the ticket, such as the item, the mode in which it came, the schedule date, the due by date, the SLA that's associated with this, all that can be figured out over here. All right. So in this ticket workspace, how did Zilker ensure that they needed only these information and they were able to gather it? So that is using templates, right? So let's see how you could create an incident template and list it in the incident catalog. Now we'll head back to the admin section. And under the admin section, we have a separate category for templates and forms. Let's choose incident template, and we have all the various templates that is right now available for Zilker's end users, right? Now let's create a new template by clicking on this plus icon, and we'd be redirected to this field and form canvas, right? It's essentially a canvas. Let's create let's just type a name for this: file server issues. And under here on this canvas, you have several sections and various fields underneath. All these fields are a drag and drop nature. So you could just drag and drop it to the place that you need it. And you could easily edit it under the section name, such as the properties. And you can even customize it to give it importance or highlight a certain section, right? You can change the font, give it a background color, place it in a different location, and save it, right? You can also create new fields by clicking on the plus icon on the available fields panel on your left. By clicking on it, you can either add new sections. There are multiple types of sections, single column all the way to flexible column. And it's again a simple drag and drop action. You can drag a single column section and drop it over here, and another single column would be created. And further, you could add any type of fields from single line all the way to date and time, depending on your needs. So you can just add a single line text and ask, the inaccessible folder name. And you can choose whether it's a personally identifiable information field, which means later on that those fields will be anonymized and those details would not be revealed later. Of course, this is not one, and you could encrypt the field as well. And over here, you have options to mark the fields as mandatory, or whether the requester can set it or view it only. All right. Now, once you create a template and click Save and Configure Workflow, you would be redirected to the workflow, right? Now, but right now, we realize that this template needs to be available for the requesters as well. So under the Technicians tab, you can scroll further down and choose which support groups can have access to this template, right? You can move all of this over there and choose whether to show this to the requester. Once you click Show to Requester, it would be available in the self-service portal for any end user to pick up. You can also choose which user group can have access to this too. All right. Now, when you click Save and Configure Workflow, you have a second tab named Requester that pops up. So this is the view that a requester would have when they are creating a ticket, right? So they don't need a long form with so many fields. They just need to give in the necessary information. So this would be the requester view where they could just key in the necessary information, and you could just fill up the other information for the technicians, right? Cool. Then you can configure the workflow where you can choose the approval details, whether if this ticket is going to be sent for approval, whether all the approvers have to approve it for it to move forward, or if any one of the approvers can approve it. Then you can also associate a checklist directly within the template. So when this ticket comes in, you can always have a checklist ready to go through it and quickly get things sorted. You can also add tasks and associate it from the task template. Click on associate, and you'd have several tasks that you can create, or you can create a new task template by clicking on the new task template in the drop down menu at the top. Once you click on tasks, and once you add a task and save it, you can let me add another task over here, maybe a couple more, just to show you how the dependency map in fact works. All right, so we have 3 tasks over here, and you can even map the order in which these tasks that have to be undertaken in this dependency map. So with this map, you could just simply drag and drop these tasks in the arrows and change the order it needs to be done, and then click close. So right now the order of the tasks would be visible in the dependency map, and technicians would have a much better picture, and there would be it would be a lot less error prone, right? And further below, you can choose whether to trigger these tasks when the incident is automatically created, or you can manually trigger them under the request details and tasks too. All right, next up we have field and form rules. Now, field and form rules are essentially dynamic actions. They're automated actions that makes the form dynamic, right? So these actions can be configured on the basis of the input that a user gives. Depending on the input of a field, an action takes place on another field. So how do you do that? We saw that earlier in self-service portal. When an impact was chosen, then the urgency popped up, right? So those kind of actions, those behavior can be configured under field and form rules. This ensures that you do not users just needs to fill in the fields that pop up and not unnecessary fields giving inaccurate information. Now you can create a new rule, and you can add let's choose to hide fields over here, and you can choose when this rule needs to take place, as soon as the template gets loaded, or if any field in the template gets changed, or when the template is submitted. So those are the events that 3 events that are listed here. And then you choose the condition based on which the action needs to take place. Now let's say that if the impact let me pick impact correctly. If impact is critical, then it needs to hide certain fields, such as the priority, or the mode, or the impact details, and so on. So in this way, you could essentially have a dynamic nature to your incident template and pick up just the relevant or the accurate information needed. All right. Now, one more thing that we saw is in these templates, we saw several properties, right? Status, mode, level, urgency, priority. So where do you configure these that is accurate for that represents your organization process? So again, head back to your admin section. Under the customization category, you have help desk. Head over to help desk, and you have all the various parameters listed in this horizontal manner. And under category, we have all the categories listed. Like for software, we have a category, and then we have several subcategories underneath. You can just click on add new category, and then choose if all the category tickets in this category need to be assigned to a separate technicians. And you can also add subcategory into into these categories by clicking on the new subcategory icon. Similarly, you can configure status. There are 2 types of statuses, the in progress status or the completed status. The in progress status keeps the timer running, and completed would just close the ticket, right? Would resolve the ticket. Now, even when you're creating a status, if it's an in progress status, you do have an option to stop the timer for statuses like on hold, or if the technician has to get a response back from the vendor or get an approval. so that the SLA doesn't get breached or the work logs are pretty accurate, you can always stop the timer. All right, you can also configure levels, which shows the complexity of the incident, the mode in which it came, the impact, which shows how much it can affect the organization, the urgency to show how time sensitive it can be, and priority to show how important that ticket can be. Now we know that priority can be misleading when if it's given in the hands of an end user, right? They would always choose high priority or critical for their needs, and that is why we have a priority matrix based on the impact and the urgency values. You can choose the various priority levels in this matrix. So you can choose click on if it's just a user level impact but it's urgent, you can choose the priority to be medium or any of the values depending on your organization parameters. All right, and this is how Zilker was able to essentially gather just the right information needed for faster incident remediation. Next up, we'll see how they were able to overcome the repetitive tasks that were bogging their time and their technicians down. So for this, they leveraged these capabilities essentially. So right now, let's take a look at all these no-code automations that's available in ServiceDesk Plus. Now, first up, let's take a look at business rules. Now, business rules is again available right under automation category. So under automation, you have business rules, and once you open it, you would be able to create a new business rule. So a business rule essentially is a criteria-based no-code automation. You set a criteria. When that criteria matches, an action would take place. Now, it would take place on all the incoming requests depending on your configuration. So you can essentially create multiple rules in a cascading manner, such as over here, like there are 2 rules just to negate requests, and it would essentially streamline your incoming tickets the way that you need it to be. So over here, you could create a new rule group and have multiple rules underneath. So let's create a rule for the negative request category. So once you create a rule, you can add your name and the basic information in the first section, such as when it needs to be executed. That is when a ticket is created, or when it's edited by the technician, or when it's deleted permanently. So you can have 3 different events based on which the business rule needs to be triggered. And you can also execute it whether during the operational hours or any time. And as I mentioned earlier, you can choose whether to turn on cascade execution, where when turned on, it would execute the next rule and have a cascading effect. Or you could just choose to have an one-shot rule where it would just get activated and the other rules will not be activated. So right here is where the magic takes place. So you can choose the criteria, the various parameters over here from the ticket, and depending on the value, an action would take place. For instance, if the impact is, let me choose impact, right? So if the impact is critical, you can choose custom actions such as updating the field for the request type to be a major incident, so that the major incident response would automatically get triggered by the organization. You can also run a custom function, or you can even execute a script. Now, apart from these, you can also abort the process execution. So right now, when a major incident is acknowledged or is already on the works of remediation by the IT service desk, there would still be tickets coming in, right? So Zilker faced that. There is still tickets coming in that file server is down, I'm not able to access the files, even when they were actually aware of the issue. So you can just quickly create a criteria over here for if the subject contains server down or any such keywords, you could just abort the process and give a reason for why it's aborted. So the ticket would not be created and the users would be given a reason. So how does this work? Let me just create a ticket and show you right now. Let me create an incident, choose Anto Williams as a requester, and let's just type in the keywords server down. And once I add request and we have Zia suggesting our category and template, let's just accept that. And Once we add request, we are getting operation denied by system message. Reason: this issue is already identified and is currently being handled. We appreciate your patience and we're working on a fix. For more details, refer to the latest announcement. So in this way, they were able to cull the incoming tickets that were just that they knew that that was just related to the major incident, right? So this way, business rules essentially streamlines your incoming requests. Next, that Zilker leveraged was request timer actions. So let's head back to our admin section. Again, the next automation that we're going to see is request timer actions, which is essentially a time delayed automation, right? It is also a criteria based automation, but those would be triggered based on the time period that you configure. So let's take a look at the file server issues that we have over here. So once you create a timer action, give it a name and choose the templates it needs to be associated to, and then the base condition. So the base condition right now for this timer action to get triggered is that whenever the status is open, that this timer action would then take place. So how does it take place? It takes place in stages, right? So under stage 1, you can just choose the time delay, right? You can configure the time delay, whether it can be user defined, which means as soon as the ticket is created, it waits for 1 day, or you can choose date field duration and choose which means if any of based on the date fields in your ticket, such as the response due by date, the SLA date, the schedule date, or the completed date, based on these dates in your ticket field, you can ask the timer action to wait before, after, or percentage of certain date, or if the date matches this, you can choose those criteria, those configurations over here. All right, so let's keep it simple right now and keep the initial delay as 1 day. Once you've configured this time delay, you will then be able to configure the action that takes place during this time. So you can choose an action to take place either during this 1 day delay or after this 1 day delay. Okay. So what during rules is when you click on add note over here, and we can see that you can choose a criteria and then an action takes place, very similar to the business rules. So essentially you can create a time delay, and as the time progresses during the entire process of the ticket from creation till the closure, you can have different levels of actions or automated actions taking place at various time intervals. So you can create new rules or associate rules over here. And when you create a new rule, you would also have option to add a if block or an if else block apart from the usual field update custom function and execute script as such as that we saw in business rules. The if block essentially is when you have several criterias, that is if statements, and if none of those matches, then no action would take place, right? And if any of those matches, that if statements action would take place, right? Or however, in an if else block, let me close that. In an if else block, if all the if statements that you have added over here does not match, then the else action that you have created would get triggered. So in this way, you would have multiple actions happening in a request timer action. And you can also make sure to repeat the stage for certain days or for certain repetitions. And once that repetition gets over, you can move it to stage 2. So it doesn't mean that you need to have multiple stages. You can create stages depending on your needs, and you can have several stages or just one stage. But you have the option to create several stages to have different sets of action taking place at different intervals. So over here, we for when a major incident comes in and we wait for 1 day, a public notice added. Then on the second stage, it waits for 2 days, and if there is no technician assigned to it, it sends a notification to the group to assign a technician. And that is how Zilker was able to automate such their process with even timer-based actions. All right. Next, let's take a look at service level agreements. So we know service level agreements essentially sets the expectations for the end users. So for incident service level agreements, you would be able to create a new service level by a new SLA by creating add new, and you can give it a name and choose which site it would belong to. And you could have several criteria over here. So you can choose based on if the priority is critical, and you can add another criteria such as if the urgency is low, or sorry, high, then the high SLA would get automatically associated to any incident ticket that has these two parameters in it. And then you could choose the response escalation and the uh, um, resolution escalation, right? So if the response is not done in, let's configure it to be 1 hour, and if the resolution is not taken up in in 2 days, let's add 2 days, and then you could choose what action needs to take place, right? So the response escalation can be configured over here, where you can choose enable level 1 escalation, and you can choose to whom it needs to be escalated to. And you can also choose whether it needs to be escalated before the breach happens or after the violation happens, right? So that is what the escalate before and after, which gives a proactive or a reactive kind of an response to the SLA breach. And you can also choose what actions to take place, whether you need to change the priority, change the level, assign it to a different technician or a group. Similarly, for response, you can manage the escalations up to 4 levels for the resolution as well. And you have operational level agreements. Especially for incidents, you have several sub-teams working together. So you can keep them accountable on how long they need to get things together by choosing the group that they have, and choosing how long they have time to get fix such an issue, right? All right, so that is SLAs. And next up is technician auto assign. So technician auto assign is pretty self-explanatory, right? It ensures that none of your tickets go unassigned. So any ticket that comes in, ServiceDesk Plus would assign a technician based on two models. You can choose either round robin, which assigns a technician in a sequential manner from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when the fifth technician is assigned to a ticket, it goes back to the first technician and assigns a ticket to the first technician. Or it could be done using load balancing, which sees which technician has the lowest number of tickets and assigns the latest ticket to that technician. And you can also configure criteria such as to whom to exclude, such as the administrator or the IT director needs to be excluded. Or you can configure rules on which criteria of tickets, like tier 1 tickets, has to be excluded from the technician auto assign to. Next, the final automation that helped Zilker was notification rules. So you can send automated notifications based on requests, tasks, problems on in this horizontal menu that we can see, and you can just simply choose such as when to notify a requester, when if a request is assigned to a technician. Sorry about that. If the request is assigned to a technician, you can choose to notify the requester. Now, once you click on this checkbox, you can customize the template, show how the message would look like. You can configure that here, and then you could simply, be assured that you can the notification or the communication part of this ticket management is taken care of. All right. Now, this is how Zilker was able to automate the repetitive tasks. So these are low-value tasks, right? Associating SLA, managing a technician's assignment, or sending out notifications, managing, culling down the basic tickets that keep coming in because of major incident. So all that was taken care of by these automations. Next up, we're going to take a look at how Zilker was able to enforce their playbook, their incident management blueprint using ServiceDesk Plus. So for this, we're going to take a look at request lifecycle. Then we'll see how maintenance and announcements and delegation helps as well. All right. So we're going to take a look at request lifecycle, which is the visual map. You can head over to automation again into the admin section and choose request lifecycle. So over here, we have a major incident lifecycle already. Let me open that. And we can see a visual map of the entire process, right? The white boxes over here are the various statuses that the ticket would pass through in its journey, right? All the path that the ticket would go through is mapped over here. The green boxes over here are the transition actions. The transition actions are the automations that would take place when the technician clicks on it, right? So the technician has no option but to choose either this transition or the not a major incident transition when the status is in open, right? So when a technician clicks major incident, you can configure actions in three different stages, right? Either the before stage, the during stage, or the after stage. The before stage ensures that there are a certain information or the scope based on which this transition would be visible to the technician, right? Only when certain rules match, this transition would be visible to the technician. So for right now, if the impact is high or critical, then only this transition would be visible, that it's a major incident, that they could trigger a major incident response, right? That button, this transition will be available for the technician to act upon. And you can under during, you can again add options like mandating fields or optional fields. For instance, under remediation, we can see that under during, the technician assignment has to be mandated and the group is optional. So when the technician clicks on remediation, the RLC, the request lifecycle, ensures that the data in the ticket right now is proper for it to take a move to the next status, so that when it's on the next status, all the necessary data to support that status of the ticket is already present. So you can ensure that the data quality is there with during stage. Next, there's after, such as we can see in the trigger RCA transition, where you can trigger actions such as creating a problem ticket. We can see a custom function gets triggered. So it's very simple. Just click on new rule. You can give a criteria that needs to be satisfied and choose whether to send a notification, run a custom function, trigger a webhook, or execute a script. So creating this visual map is very simple, right? So under customization, we saw how you can add various statuses. All those available statuses are listed over here. All you need to do is just drag and drop it to the canvas, and you can just drag a link from the from one status and extend it to the another status to essentially build a path for the ticket. So when it's RCA initiated, it would actually head to the assigned status. Right now, it doesn't make sense, but just for the sake of demo right now. And once you click on the plus icon over here, you could create a new transition and then configure the before, after, all those actions over here too. So how does this look in action? So let's take a look at the ticket over here. So we can see on the top right corner that the technician can either analyze the details, and choose whether to initiate a major incident response or not a major incident response. That is the only action the technician can take place. So this ensures that there is a standardized way of managing your incidents in your organization across the board, across all the sites, right? So when you click on major incident, it heads to the next status, which is triaging. And then any actions that is configured on the back end would get triggered right now. And that is how Zilker was able to essentially bring their playbook over here. Apart from that, they had issues with their file servers, right? So to overcome that, they leveraged the maintenance module. So maintenance is a separate module to ensure that the frequently or the regular task that needs to be done can be created as a ticket and can be scheduled in a specific interval. To create a new maintenance ticket, just click on new. And you can choose the template and all the various parameters. We saw all this in just the basic ticket creation. And then you can schedule it over here. So let's choose file checkup, file server checkup, and choose a requester over here, and then schedule it. Let's give a subject as well, since it's a mandatory field. And then let's schedule it. And you can choose the repetition frequency over here, whether it's once, daily, weekly, yearly, and from what date it needs to be initiated. So that is also how you could ensure such a big catastrophe doesn't happen with the maintenance. All right. Then Zilker had to announce, right? So announcing is one of the major actions that you need to do when a major incident happens, especially, right? You need to communicate to your entire organization. So under my view, you have a separate column for announcements, right? So we can see that Zilker has already made an announcement for their major incident, and this announcement will be visible in the self-service portal. And Zia would also suggest that when you're creating a ticket, that there is an announcement regarding the file server. Do you want to take a look at it? So Zia is also smart enough to suggest these announcements too. So you can create a new announcement by clicking add new, giving information such as the title, the description, the type of announcement, such as if the service is down, service update, the priority of the announcement, how long the announcement is going to stay live. You can choose the from and to dates, and which services are going to be affected over here. And you can also choose to email users of these announcement and keep it a public or keep it private, or if it's a shared announcement as well. All right. Apart from that, Zilker also faced, there was an IT talent shortage, and there were many times with the available resources, they were not able to handle tickets, and they when certain technicians were on leave, right? So they had to delegate their work. So under scheduler, you can see there is a calendar, and under calendar, you can see when several technicians are on leave with the various color windows. And you can choose to have a backup technician by clicking on it, and you can choose to whom the tickets need to be assigned to over here. You can choose which technicians, and you can also have a list view of all the tickets that are that the technician has in due over here in this dialog box, in this table. All right. Now, we saw how Zilker was able to bring in their, bring a standardized way of managing their major incident process. Now, let's take a look at how they were able to empower their end users and resolve their L1 tickets fast. So for this, they leverage the knowledge base, right, of ServiceDesk Plus, which is the solutions module. So let's see how you could create a solution and ensure that your end users have relevant knowledge articles right when they're creating a ticket or when they are in a confused state, right? So now let's head back to that major incident ticket, right? So we have the unable to access internal files. And over here under resolution, let's assume that the technicians has figured it out and then they have added the resolution, right? Now, as soon as the resolution is added, you can directly save and add it to solutions. Once you click it, it would redirect you to the solutions module, right? Over here, we can see that we are going to create a new solution, and this would be added to the knowledge base. So you can add all the subject of the ticket is pre-populated and the content is pre-populated from the ticket itself. And you can choose the topic under which this would come. All right, and you can add the keywords. So you can add server down, file server issues, accessibility. So if any of these keywords match, this knowledge article would be automatically suggested by the system. And you can also choose a solution owner to keep it to update it frequently, have a review date so that the technician would be notified of the soon to be expiring solution. You can have an expiry date, and you can make this solution to be public by publishing it in the self-service portal, so that if it's a solution that's relevant to the users, you can also make sure you can have an access privilege option with this capability. Now, once you add it, you can also send it for approval, right? So let's head back to our solutions module and see the solution that we just added right now. So over here, we can see that it's in unapproved state. By clicking on the approve actions, you can either submit for approval, approve solution, or either reject it too. And you can manage topics by clicking on the left-hand panel for manage topics and click on and add the various topics and subtopics over here. So this ensured that the basic L1 tickets was handled directly by suggestions from the system, suggestions from Zia, and this ensured that while during ticket creation itself, the end users are aware that there is already a knowledge article based on it, and this also further brought down the tickets, and which helped them because they were facing an IT talent shortage and they were not able to handle all the L1 tickets that were just pouring in, right? All right. So finally, after all this, let's take a Zilker had to measure the performance of their service desk operations in an incident, right? So to review the incident KPIs, they leverage the reporting module and the dashboards, right? So let's take a look at the reporting module. So over here, we have a separate module for reports where you have over 180 plus canned reports, right? Once you click on a report, it would just fetch the data and then display it based on the report type. For instance, if it's a pie chart, a graphical pie chart would come over here. Now it's a table. Since it's a tabular report, we're seeing a table over here. You can export it on various formats, and you can also add it directly to the dashboard. You can schedule this report so that you can get this report on a frequent basis to keep track of any certain KPIs, and you can also mail it to any specific technician or any of the leadership staff. All right. Now, how does this essentially help with the dashboards? So dashboards are visually appealing data that we see over here. You can essentially have a bird's eye view of what is happening right now in your service desk, right? So you can have separate dashboards for your help desk, for your problems and change, for your asset projects, and depending on the need, you can also create new dashboards as well. So once you click on new dashboard, you can choose what reports or what widgets needs to be added from the help desk module or from the problem and change module, asset, projects, and so on. In fact, you can even add external widgets and with the URL address, right? So once you add that, you can share it to certain technicians and end users or keep it private as well. All right. Now that's done, you can a quick thing that I'd like to show you is these dashboards can have graphs that can instantly be changed. So this data can be changed to a bar graph, or it can be changed to an area graph, and so that you can get a proper visual representation of the data that you're seeing, so that to understand what's happening better faster. Now, apart from that, to further understand how incident management can be done better, you have time analysis under each ticket. So under the request window, request list view, I'm going to open a ticket right now, and we have a separate time analysis tab. Under time analysis, we can see how much overdue each task is, how long the ticket is spent on each status, whether it's been unassigned for a longer time or if it's been assigned for a longer time, whether the OLA has been breached, who is the technician, how long were they working on it. So you can have a complete analysis and understand where the ticket can be improved, where the ticket management can be improved, right? Now, apart from all this, one of the key factors to get feedback is through surveys, right? Through user surveys. So head over to the admin section and you could trigger user surveys as and when an incident is resolved. So head over to the admin, and over here under the user survey category, you can configure a new survey. So we already have a survey for incident resolution experience. We can see that you can have several types of question. It could be an opinion scale, it could be a binary, it could be a yes no question, it could be a rating scale. So depending on that, you could just configure a survey, right? And you can also have choose when this survey needs to be triggered, right? Whether it needs to be triggered only where request closed by a specific technician, whether for all all closed requests, and you can also choose to have follow a certain criteria. For instance, if the ticket is major incident, only then the survey would go out. So such way you can configure the survey. And once you've configured a survey, you can also take a look at the survey reports. So over here, you can quickly get an idea of what the satisfaction level is or what the response level is and have a visual map. You can also configure the email survey under survey email configuration. You can add the necessary the description and the email message that you would like to convey, have a success message, failure message, and thank you message. And just like we saw earlier with the outgoing email settings, this would leverage that and would be sent as an email from the ServiceDesk Plus system. All right, folks. And that is how Zilker was essentially able to get a feedback and understand how operations was going on in their service desk environment. All right, let's have a quick recap. It was a pretty long session and we had a lot of information going on. So be sure to get the recording if you feel like you missed out on any of the features. A quick recap. We saw how you could set up an omni-channel experience of ServiceDesk Plus by setting the email channels, integrating it with Microsoft Teams, leveraging the AI virtual agent Zia, or setting up the live chat experience, and also showing how we can do it with the incident catalog in the self-service portal. Then we saw how you could gather the right information with templates, how you could make it dynamic with field and form rules and customizations. Then we saw the most powerful features such as the automations, which enabled Zilker to overcome the repetitive and the mundane tasks with business rules, which are criteria-based automation, and timers, which are time-delayed automation. Then we saw service level agreements, how it automatically associates to any tickets matching a certain criteria, right? So then we saw technician auto assign, which ensures none of your tickets go unassigned. Finally, we saw notification rules, where the system manages all the notifications for you you just have to click a check mark. And then we saw RLC, maintenance and announcements and delegation, right? So with RLC, you could essentially standardize your incident resolution process, when you have an incident playbook, you could enforce it with RLC. Then we saw maintenance, which are essentially tasks that needs to be frequently done in a regular manner. You could configure that and schedule that too. Then we saw how you could add solutions directly from the ticket and maintain a strong knowledge base, like a robust knowledge base, right? And finally, we saw where you could create reports and how you could configure a dashboard and how you could get feedback through surveys. For any further questions, do shoot us an email at hello@servicedeskplus.com or my email address zephaniah.b@zohocorp.com, and we'll be happy to sort it out for you. All right, just a quick announcement for all the attendees right now before we wrap it up. So it'd be great if you could review ServiceDesk Plus on Gartner Peer Insights, and for every confirmed review submission, we are offering a $25 Amazon gift card or equivalent on your region's currency. So you can see, you can just head over to the link mnge.it/review. The R is the R in caps. And then you would be redirected to sign in, and then you could submit a review of ServiceDesk Plus. Just send a screenshot of your confirmation email and we'll process the gift card for you. We hope you do make use of this. Thank you. And to learn more, we have the admin guide, and you have a rich library of product videos which keep adding on the where we are adding daily. And the pit stop community is buzzing with activity as well. And as always, you can always write to us at hello@servicedeskplus.com, and you can find out all the various support details under servicedeskplus.com/support. All right, folks, thank you. And I'll see you all in next month's Masterclass season. Thank you.